Today I want to talk to you about those companies that are doing digital right. I call them the trailblazers. They have governance, management, resolve, financing and assets that are dedicated towards going digital. That is at the core of the organization. As a result, they enjoy an overall increase in performance across all of the key functions. These are companies that are in tune with their customers' best interests. So what are these trailblazers doing that is so different? Well, the first is digital competence. Digital competence is about the differentiation that you can achieve by using your IT systems for a competitive advantage. More resilient, responsive, adaptable, and secure. The heart of your digital capability is your software. That's the quote-unquote legacy software that currently runs your business, the new software that you're going to write for online and mobile experience, and the capacity of your organization to transform that software to follow your digital vision. If your team and your digital assets are too ossified to adopt quickly and constantly, your digital strategy is going to lead you nowhere. As such, transformation initiatives that do not first tackle functional, data, and technical complexity issues are setting themselves up for failure. Data shows that those that attack functional, data, and technical complexity achieve cost savings of 15 to 20% of their overall technology budgets, while increasing their agility and reducing risk. Reducing complexity involves three actions: identifying redundancies, improving key software characteristics, especially changeability, and risk factors, and measuring the impact of transformation in terms of capacity, the time to market, and business value. Measuring software at a structural level is the only way for digital-minded executives to make the right trade-offs between delivery speed, business risk, value, and technical debt. Dealing with technical architectural complexity during digital transformation can be difficult. Tech leaders who employ a standards-based factual approach will avoid the hazards that have derailed past simplification and transformation initiatives, particularly in IT. Now, we talked about trailblazers having digital competence. They also get the process right, the how part. In other words, how they do it is unique and extremely efficient. It comes from developing leadership that's completely clued into the digital mindset. The key sponsors of it, and they drive it, instead of just hiding behind the tech and hoping the automation works. Technology replicates good strategy. So if the operational strategy or the customer experience is substandard, the technology enabling it will also be substandard. What else are these guys doing that is so well? Four things in my experience: customer experience, operations, business model, and leadership. First, they are reimagining the entire sort of customer experience based on the data that they're collecting and redesigning how their customers interact with all touch points between the customer and the company. Whether they're apps, mobile, desktop, Facebook, Snapchat, or any other social platform, making it exceptionally user-friendly. Second, a subset of these companies are going a step further. They're attempting to digitize their operations. Now, there's 3 steps that I've seen in how they go about digitizing their operations. The first is digitizing business processes such as finance, accounting, human resources, and marketing. What's interesting is that there are thousands of companies out there, especially at the divisional level, that are continuing to use paper-based processes for conducting day-to-day operations, such as submitting and approving expense reports. Businesses that enjoy visible gains in efficiency are those that are digitizing their operational processes. The second step in operations digitization is that of employee empowerment. To enable them to interact, connect, and communicate better, no matter where in the world they might be. Employee empowerment via a shared digital platform is fundamentally changing the modus operandi of how employees work and exchange ideas. The third and final step in operations digitization is that of data management. This phase is all about improving performance. It's all about transparency, helping the company understand how the customers come, what they do, and how they buy. Digital trailblazers understand everything about who their customer is, their actions, inspirations, research, and buying patterns, their likes and dislikes, and of course, what segments they belong to. The companies that invest in customer-facing technology without really understanding their customers do not really gain from the investment. So know your customer well. Know your customer well. A friend of mine back from Wharton was working for Coca-Cola. And he got posted in the Middle East, and he started his he didn't really understand Arabic. He started his 3-poster campaign while he was there. The first poster showed a man lying in the hot desert, totally exhausted. The second showed the same man drinking a can of Coca-Cola. And the third poster had him refreshed and running again. What my buddy didn't really realize is that in Arabic and in that region, people read from right to left. The man was running, he had a Coke, and then he fell flat in the desert. Brands like Burberry and Starbucks have mastered this aspect of digitization by offering app experiences that are focused around your individual preferences, thus allowing them to target specific messaging to you based on information that you desire as a customer. Burberry tries to bring the in-store retail color, design, the runway experience to their customers inside of their app. Starbucks mobile and pay system that you're probably all using is equally popular. It lets customers order and pay for beverages in advance and pick them up without waiting in the cashier line. It's kind of fascinating to see that Starbucks and not Google or Apple became the trailblazer in mobile payments. And that's because of governance and complete management buy-in from the top. See, back in 2011, when Google was trying to get consumers to use mobile payment options involving new phones and refurbished in-store terminals, Starbucks released its app with simple QR codes offering rewards to its customers for using the app, which now accounts, as you know, for a giant share of all sales in Starbucks company-owned US stores. The next aspect of operational digitization is personalization and targeting. And that comes from an analysis of the customer data, collecting and harnessing lots of data, followed by lots of analysis. For that, you need a real good data analyst, like the one His wife had twins. He was delighted. He rang the minister, who was also delighted. Bring them to church on Sunday, and we'll baptize them, the minister said. No, said the analyst. You baptize one. We'll keep the other one as control. So that's the type of analyst you want. I'll try to explain this using the hotel and hospitality industry as an example. Hotels are starting to use insights from big data analysis to create innovative offers and personalized services. Personalization is an art, but that's driven by science. And it's actually evolved into an entirely new approach to consumer marketing. Hotels are starting to use collected data, but very few are actually extracting its full potential. Starwood Hotels, for example, are conducting advanced analytics on customer, weather, and property-specific data to figure out what price and incentive to offer a guest that is just right for the guest to book the room. They also use the data to determine the length of promotion and the amenities that might be of most interest to their guests or a particular guest. So they're offered to the guest at check-in. Besides rooms, hotels also have spas, restaurants, or other services that they aspire to fill, and that's where the data comes in yet again. See, not too long ago, CMO's office would create a broadly defined monthly marketing offer that would then be disseminated by the hotel staff across all the properties. This one-size-fits-all approach obviously missed the vital component of whether the offer would be attractive enough for a particular guest. Let's take Hyatt Hotels as an example. That enjoyed a 60% increase in non-room revenue over the course of a year by employing data analytics to arm their front desk with upgrade and service offers. The final aspect of operational digitization is bringing legacy and a future together in a way that works. Going digital and chasing a future while ignoring the past is an ineffective strategy. Executives think that they can simply let go of the past and pursue a new future, bereft of legacy baggage. I can tell you it's a recipe for disaster. If you're a retailer, for example, consider doing augmented reality, where you offer a variety of different alternative colors and material for an item that may have perhaps just one piece on display in the store. It's a blend of virtual with physical, future with legacy. Mr. Zuckerberg was talking about it at the F8 a couple of days ago, augmented reality. Now let's talk about business model. See, the reality is it's impossible for a company to claim that its business model is using digital technology. It's not going to have a lot of success pursuing it if that's how they think. Having said that, digital transformation, the landscape can be broken into 5 different business models, in my humble opinion. The first is redesigning the industry, where the companies essentially disrupt and completely redesign an existing industry. Think Airbnb and Uber. The second is redesigning the product, where the companies face a rapidly dying product and are forced to digitize the product experience for their customers. Think United States Post Office. The third is creating new digital ecosystems where submarkets can coexist hinged to the parent ecosystem. Think Apple and its market of app developers, or Amazon and its marketplace of third-party sellers. The fourth is recreating the path to the customer. Talked about insurance. See, here the companies are dissociated from their customers by an intermediary, the insurance agent. So they're figuring out ways to reach out to the customer without jeopardizing their existing distribution channel. Think lemonade.com. This is the insurance disruptor. And the fifth is to change the value proposition itself. Think rideshare insurance, such as Geico and Farmers, where the new offerings not only cover standard personal automobile, monthly premium-based usage, but it also adds spot insurance coverage for the first time that the insured driver is signed in to a commercial ride-sharing app like Uber. Think individual insurance coverage for a skier while he or she is riding the slopes. So we just talked about the three constituents of successful digital transformation that the digital trailblazers have mastered. What are they? The customer experience, the operations, and the business model. There's one more component, and this is an important one. It's effective leadership. Acceptance of digital as a core value driver within the company. Remember, the key to being a good leader, the key to being a good leader is keeping the people who hate you away from the people who are still undecided. Digital transformation is not about innovating on the periphery or creating a digital department, hiring millennials who work for you and, with the intent of reaching other millennials via mobile devices or, on Snapchat and Instagram, or about conducting bold, disruptive experiments in the hope that they all work out. In fact, in all of the companies that I've dealt with, the trailblazers, the best of them, they have done none of that. None of that, not one. What they've all had is a fantastic top-down leadership with consistent messaging around digital not being this cool thing on the edge, but instead being the core focus of the organization. True digital transformation only comes from robust and resilient leadership, disseminating a message of vision, involvement, governance, and acceptance as the drivers of the future. So let's talk about this. Let's discuss each of these as the core components of digital leadership. Digital leadership. Let's talk about vision. Vision. A lady walks into a store to return a pair of glasses that she had purchased for her husband a week before. What seems to be the problem, madame? I'm returning these glasses I bought for my husband. He's still not seeing things my way. So how do you get people to see things your way as leaders? The three components of robust vision coming from executive leadership. The first is defining your core asset. When designing a digital transformation plan, consider your core asset, the one that pushes product for you. Everybody knows Google, but think about Yellow Pages. They considered their thousands of salespeople as their core asset and reoriented them from selling paper ads to selling digital services to their small business customers through YP.com. It's a site, by the way, that receives 55 million consumers each month. The second component of vision is having a core mission statement. It's not a slogan. It's something that's transformative and that your organization can internalize, much like what GE has done with its industrial internet. Don't have a mission statement that tells people you don't really mean it, like Barnes & Noble, for example. This is what their mission statement says. It says, our mission is to operate the best specialty retail business in America, regardless of the product we sell. And here's the third sentence. To say that our mission exists independent of the product we sell is to demean the importance and the distinction of being booksellers. It's probably better that you don't have a mission statement that contradicts itself. Also, don't have one that tells people you don't care what business you're in. Here's Albertsons' mission statement: to create a shopping experience that's pleasing our customers, a workplace that creates opportunities and a great working environment for our associates, and a business that achieves financial success. For those of you who've never lived in LA or San Francisco and the West Coast, Albertsons is a chain of grocery stores, primarily in the Western United States. So ideally, your mission should be something that, you know, what your company does. The third component of vision is about defining pure resolve and result. In other words, what it is that the company stands for or intends to do, and what impact the leadership expects from the effort. Think what Burberry did almost a decade ago when its CEO at the time, Angela Ahrendts, now at Apple, declared a vision of wanting to be a brand that would be the first all-luxury fashion house. Today, digital is at the heart of Burberry, harvesting the loots in a cohort that has infamously trailed digital savoir-faire. In the case of Burberry, it all came down from the vision of the CEO of being an all-digital brand. So I just told you the three components of vision: core asset, core statement, and pure resolve and result. Now let's get back to the second component of digital leadership, which is participation. See, if a company wants to transform, it needs to actively involve its employees. Participation can be carried out at a global level. Give employees a platform to voice their opinions, and then actively participate in the platform so employees can embrace the digital changes. In my personal opinion, employees do not accept something just because, you know, it comes from above. Leaders need to show the value proposition behind their request for staff acceptance. And finally, and most importantly, there's governance. See, if you're somewhat of a large company, you will need your executive management to drive the project home. Drive it home. Otherwise, you will end up with multiple apps developed through multiple vendors, all doing more or less the same thing in different parts of the organization, maybe in different countries. We all know that getting different departments to communicate, coordinate, and synchronize projects doesn't come naturally, which means that somebody from the top needs to get it done. In other words, sound governance breeds consistency, prevents repetition, and is the single most important contributor to the overall success of a digital transformation project. In closing, I'd like to leave you with these thoughts. See, our world is flooded with data and information beyond the capacity of a single human brain to collect, let alone process. Some people will remember the days when they could rattle off the phone numbers of a close associate. My dad could do it for the entire friend circle. No more. Now that the entire global community is at our disposal through an array of mediums, devices, memorization is really unnecessary. In fact, various traditionally human tasks are being taken up by digitization or digitalization. Many fear technological dependence is withering away our intelligence. The assumption being that we're intrinsically lazy and happy to dislocate uncomfortable or inconvenient tasks onto computers. In the process, some say we risk forsaking our intellect and therein our control. This narrative is peddled by alarmist tech press. Frankly, the reality before us is likely far more nuanced than sheer dominance. Given our sordid history, it's easy to envision tech tyranny, but the chances are that technology will continue to blend with humanity until we have new kinds of intelligence, new means of collaboration, new types of decision-making, and new areas of hybrid work that recreate the workforce. I believe that the digital era will lead to the creation of more jobs, not destroy them in the long run. Just because we today are unable to envision the kind of work that we will do in the future, when machines and computers and artificial intelligence and cognitive computing is an integral part of our lives, does not imply our children aren't going to think of it either. Who are we to take that wager against human intuition and inspiration? Fear and distrust often accompany disruptive changes. Rock and roll and TV, accompanied at the time by skepticism, if you remember, aversion in their heyday. Think about bank tellers and ATM machines. They were handling routine cash dispensing tasks, started doing more cognitively demanding jobs when the ATM came along. You know what they were doing? They started building higher cognitive relationships with customers, introducing them to new financial products such as loans, credit cards, investment plans. Although the ATM caused the number of tellers per branch to reduce by 30%, banks opened 40% more branches. Why? Because it was cheaper to do so, resulting in more net tellers per branch and more access to customers. Friends, in 1970, there were 250,000 tellers in the market. Today, there are twice as many, despite all the automation in consumer banking. In the past 100 years, the United States has employed more people in just about every decade than the previous one, despite an industrial revolution and the advent of computers in our lives. In the early 1900s, when the tractor, the little thing on the farm, entered the scene, it threatened mass unemployment in the farm states, with an entire generation of youth no longer needed on the farms. But we rose to the challenge and took a step that is without a doubt the greatest investment America ever made in the 20th century. It's called the high school movement. We required our youth to stay in school till the ripe old age of 16, something that was unprecedented at the time and extremely expensive to do. The youth could not work either on farms or do any other type of job while they were in school. And look at the result. We ended up with the greatest, most skilled, most creative, and most productive workforce the world has ever seen. It's this workforce that created jobs we could never have imagined in the past. Yoga instructors, robotic surgery, hell, even Pokemon Go. See, the fear of disruption is understandable, but at odds with the reality we inhabit. Disruption, in other words, creative destruction, is the order of the day. We must learn to cope in parsimonious and more even-handed ways. Indeed, this is a lesson we've been wanting to learn ever since the Industrial Revolution, right? History taught us that nothing is forever, that no empire or technology is unshakable, no lifestyle constant. Social roles, business models, tools, and even culture are in constant flux. And for every change, there is a proportional consequence. As traditional jobs fade into the past, new jobs that demand new skills and mindsets emerge. Sure, our devices are becoming faster and stronger and more accurate, but they are not becoming human. Digitization or digitalization is its own kind of intelligence. Our devices can reorganize our voices and act upon simple instructions, identify the photos of animals, much quicker than the human brain. Look at Google DeepMind. But all these instructions, talk to the guy who runs Watson, will tell you they're pre-programmed, at least for now. There's still a driver behind the wheel. Even when the driver is no longer necessary, for example, in the case of self-driving cars, the decision-making parameters of computer will not mimic those of the human. For better or worse, we're emotional and irrational beings that, despite evolutionary hurdles, made it this far, right? Digital is the product of human imagination, not nature. It's programmed to think unlike humans. Digital represents an ideal of logic that we cannot incarnate, but it is not human and never will be. What we should be doing is using this opportunity to determine what it means to be human. We have capacities and capabilities and abilities that digital can't emulate. Our adaptability and ingenuity, our bodies, our emotions, these are the unique qualities of Homo sapiens, us, that must be reevaluated and advantaged. Education has traditionally adopted one-size-fits-all approach, right? You leave behind anybody who couldn't keep up. Every year it belies, it's wasted human potential. You know, it belies a reality that each person has untapped abilities of possible benefit to society as a whole. Teachers are now embracing technology to facilitate individualization of education. It's happening. Look at Khan Academy. Ensuring that we hone our children's strengths rather than propagate their weaknesses will help them become the best versions of themselves. You know, this differentiates what's uniquely human from what's uniquely machine and what should be hybridized. Another threat to the realization of what makes us human is personalization. We demand technology adapt to us, right? Right? Instead, unwittingly, we conform to it. Imperceptibly, our lifestyle is controlled by the very algorithms that promise us consumer satisfaction. What we want to watch on Netflix, our next purchase on Amazon, the posts we see on social media, or the home improvement loans we qualify for, they're all outputs determined by an algorithm. Friends, we shouldn't fear digitization. You know what we should fear? We should fear malevolent actors working behind the scenes to systematize conformity, suppress human potential, and instill fear in a technology that is already embedded in every aspect of our lives, whether we like it or not. We must also prepare ourselves to think differently, to grow in the midst of change, as is the fate of our species. My friends, do not let fear dictate your thoughts and actions. Henry Ford once said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said, faster horses. In conclusion, I'd like to quote a passage from the TED Talk that was broadcast a couple of days ago that's burning the internet right now from His Holiness Pope Francis, only a couple of days back. It resonated with me like it would with millions of people around the world. And I'd like to conclude the talk with that. And I quote, straight from the pontiff, "Science, and you know it better than I do, points to an understanding of reality as a place where every element connects and interacts with everything else. How wonderful would it be if the growth of scientific and technological innovation would come along with more equality and social inclusion? How wonderful would it be, while we discover faraway planets, to rediscover the needs of our brothers and sisters orbiting around us? How wonderful would it be if solidarity, this beautiful and at times inconvenient word, was not simply reduced to social work and became instead the default attitude in political, economic, and scientific choices, as well as in the relationships among individuals, peoples, and countries. Only by educating people to a true solidarity will we be able to overcome the culture of waste, which doesn't concern food and goods, but first and foremost, the people who are cast aside by our techno-economic systems, which without even realizing it, and here's the key, are putting products at their core instead of people. So my friends, my one message to you as you go about digitally transforming your businesses is this: put your customers at your core, put your employees at your core, put people at your core as you transform your products, processes, and organizations. The world's your playground. Go digitalize it. Thank you very much.